Okay, hello there. Thanks for joining me if you've been here before. Thanks for joining me if you haven't. So I'm going to continue now. This is a new time for me. I'm just trying something out here to see more people are around to watch my paintings at this point versus I've been doing Saturdays lately. So we'll see how it goes this time. So I'm going to keep on going with the painting I was working on last time, which this is Gapstow Bridge, which is in Central Park. I'll just do a little mixing here while I'm talking. This is Gapstow Bridge in Central Park, which is one of several bridges they have there. I've painted a bunch of different ones, and I had originally done this painting years ago. I mean, not this one, but a different one that looks like this one. And I had finished it, sold it, and decided I wanted to paint it again. So I'm kind of changing things around a little bit this time. There's slightly different light, and I'm I used to have a little kind of island over on the right here that I'm not going to put in this time. And so last time I was working on this live. I did the sky, the area down below, some of these sort of trees or bushes over here on the left side. So today I'm going to do, I think, some of these trees in the background. Maybe work my way over to this bigger tree that's kind of, I don't know if you can call that the foreground. It's more like the middle ground. There's not really much foreground here aside from the water. So I'm going to be working on, these different things here, and I'll see how far I get today. I probably won't finish it, but I think I can probably do most of it aside from the bridge, basically. So just mixing up a green here, and I'm going to see, this is a little dark, but I want to make sure this is not too brown or too green. I'm mixing up Viridian green together with transparent yellow oxide. And by the way, I adjusted my audio levels again, as if there was anything left to adjust on it. So I think my audio for my mic should be a little better now compared to the last time. All right, so I think I'm going to go with some cadmium yellow light here, and I'm going to just make a little gradient. Let me just make sure this is a good color. It's hard to tell when the color is really dark like that, if you actually have a good mixture of a couple different pigments in there. But this is looking like what I want. So let me just take a little bit of that, a little bit more, and mix it into the yellow to get some colors that I can use, and I don't have to keep going back and mixing it quite as much. I was kind of doing that a lot last time, but usually I prefer to do it this way. So I'm going to get a little more of this here, mix it up, and the light's coming from the left in the scene there. You can kind of see on the bottom left the reference. That's a still of a video from when I was actually there painting originally. I was painting in person, and the light in that picture is pretty similar aside from the sky, which just looks white in that photo. So I'm going to make the sky, well, I mean, I already made the sky look better than that, but the other things I'm going to kind of paint similar to how it is in the photo. Pretty typical that when you take a picture of something like this, and well, I guess nowadays the phones and different cameras are better at taking pictures and not having the sky be too washed out where it's just all white, but that definitely happened a lot years ago. So I think I'm about ready to start here. I'm needing to mix up probably a little more than this, but it's just enough to start. Okay, and thanks for joining, Bruce. I met Bruce a long time ago, I think on an art walk or something. And Live Like You Mean It, Summer of Success, hi there. Okay, now the green on this tree here, I feel like it's a little bit too bright compared to everything else. It's not really earthy enough, so I want to tone this down a little bit. This is just a subtle change, but I'm going to go in here and just kind of go over that sort of shadow green just to start out. And it might not really look like a huge difference, but if the whole thing is the wrong color, like you have two different colors you're mixing and one of them is just too saturated or something, you kind of have to redo everything. So just starting out, getting rid of that, I feel like is an important step here. It'd be easy to miss that if you weren't really paying attention. So this is just kind of fading into this little darker area right here, which right now looks like something else, but it's actually, I think for the most part, should really be this tree. So I'm going to go a little darker. I think, and actually, mix up just a little bit more of this. These two colors here for the main color I use for the plants, Viridian and the transparent yellow oxide. And I'm going to get something just really dark that doesn't have any of the cadmium yellow in it. Cadmium yellow light. And this will basically serve as not really a black, but just a dark shadow area color. So without even putting anything in there, something to work with. Okay, and using the same brush, I'll kind of go in there and try to keep this kind of not too overly detailed. I was liking how it was coming out last time with the other things I was doing. That's really how it is when you're painting outdoors, just actually in front of a landscape, you know, plein air. So I think that works well in general for doing trees and things like this. Now there's a nice contrast here from the bridge to that sort of shadow back there, so I kind of want to keep that. There's a little weird sort of thing happening here. In the photo, I don't really want that, so I'm just going to leave it out, because I don't think it really helps anything. So, just going over the edge of the bridge here just a little bit more to sort of outline it, because it really helps to kind of separate the background from the bridge. And I think I might lighten this part in the middle here, because in the photo at least there is a tree further off in the distance there. It looks like it's pretty far back, kind of where the things are on the other side of the water. So, oh, thanks, Summer. So, a little kind of shadowy area in here, and it's kind of a nice area over here in the photo where there's sort of a branch or something, a big kind of group of leaves. So I'm going to just go in there and separate that. That might be a little dark, but I'll just go back in more if I need to. I'm actually seeing as I go along, there's really not, well, I guess the top over here on the right for that tree is a little bit what I'd call a mid-tone, but a lot of it is just really dark or light, kind of higher contrast. I definitely don't want to disturb the edge of this kind of bush over here too much going along that lighter green, because that looks nice. So I want to just sort of pay attention to not going over that so much. Looking at this tree over here on the left also, kind of looking a little brown right now. So I think I want to maybe bring this tree out some more into that one. And there's a little bit of haze back then when I was painting this first. So I think this part back here and then this tree on the left, they're going to get a little bit of white just to kind of separate them some more from what's happening a little bit closer here. Yeah, Bruce, yeah, just seeing your comment. Yeah, it has been a long time. Yeah, I see your drawings all the time. Bruce does these very precise pen drawings of street scenes and buildings and things. Very cool, very nice. You want to get like a portrait, house portrait done or something like that. Bruce Young portraits. I've done a couple of those in the past, but haven't done one for a long time now. I don't know why, but my computer just unmutes itself sometimes when I'm streaming. Oh, just did it again. So, people aren't now doing it for a third time. It's like it's possessed. Some people will be streaming with headphones on or something, but I don't have earbuds, and I think a wire would definitely get in the way while I'm doing this, and I get paint on it, and it's really annoying, so I don't particularly like wearing them anyway, so I'm just going to keep my computer muted. So this is looking a little bit I feel like it needs to be flatter basically than what I have right now. Like there's too much detail going on. I need it to just be more basic. Like there's dark and there's light and then there's the middle, and they're just kind of in like larger areas than what I have at this point. Just looking a little blah right now for the shape. So I'm gonna get a little bit more of this sort of mid-tone here. And I'm gonna just get rid of this altogether. I don't even want that. Go a little bit lighter. And really not too much highlight going on the right side here, so I'm not sure exactly how I want to do the edge of this going into the sky. The sky's all dry now, which is fine, but kind of nice when it's still wet and you kind of blend the colors a little bit in there, but I might get a little bit of the sky mixed up later to sort of go along the edge there. Then again, I might not. So, okay, I feel like this is coming together now. We're just getting a little bit more just simplified. I want to just have like these bigger shapes of groups of leaves instead of, I don't want to go too detailed with painting little individual leaves here and there. So, just trying to find the kind of more basic, bigger shapes going on. You know what? I'm just noticing camera is not really on there very well. Okay, that's a little bit better. Okay, I'm gonna just tip this. Nope. The little holder for my phone is a little bit, like you can kind of push it to get it to be on there better. Okay. Okay, anyway. So now I'm going to add a little bit of this sort of mid-tone green right over here. I've got to sort of redefine the edge of the kind of big limb that's happening right there. Got my noise cancellation on for my mic. I don't know if you can hear the air conditioner at all, but it wasn't really hot in here, but my computer was getting hot before, so I was like, okay, well, I'll put it on for you, computer. So now I'm gonna do these lights on the left. I feel like what I have, oop, no, something just fell. What I have over here is not too far off from the value I need for this lighter part. I think I'll bring it down just a little bit though. Okay, and bringing this out more to the left. Right. So in the photo right over here, these two trees are kind of blending together a little bit more than I need them to. So I'm going to just separate them more than what's actually happening there. Maybe I'll get a little more yellow, just to bring this up some more. Sort of soften that going into other paint here. Okay, I like how that's looking. I might just do a little sort of skipping around for the leaves here. on the edge instead of, I don't know, maybe I'll just do that instead of blending into like a bluer color for sort of a softer look. I guess it's looking all right. Much more cognizant of having soft edges than I used to be a long time ago. Hey Sneepy. Howdy. This box just fell, I gotta move it. Okay. Sneepy, are you watching from a horse right now? I imagine you with like a 10-gallon hat, just like watching me paint. So I'm gonna just do a little bit more sort of light stuff going on up here on the top. But I don't want too much. I'm gonna go over actually right here at this point. This lighter area where there's the light hitting that kind of big clump of, well, a couple branches or whatever it is. So AP, did you watch What We Do in the Shadows yet? Haven't seen that show. I think I watched it maybe Halloween last year. I watched a few of them. Been a while though. I definitely would like to live in the house where they live. I mean, I say that. I don't know if I really would. I kind of want to. Oh wow. Yeah, well, when you're around people that say stuff, you do tend to pick things up. I actually noticed there was some guys that, when I was in art school, I just saw there's certain people that started kind of talking the same that lived together in the dorms. And there was these two guys that actually started dressing the same. I mean, they sort of did it as a joke, but it's very interesting just to watch how people kind of get influenced by who they're around all the time. Oh, okay. Well, okay. So, I'm kind of liking how this is looking now with the sort of shape that's going on with that area. In fact, I don't know, might not do too much more. Might have a little bit of the sky kind of here and there poking through later on. But I think I'm kind of liking this the way it is now. I don't know if this is too solid on the left compared to how it should be. Maybe I'm going to darken this just a little bit right here. I don't want to break up that shape too much though. Just enough that it's maybe doesn't look so much like an outline on the left side. Oh, thanks. Like you mean it. Yeah, I like how the reflection's looking right now. Like how I can tell when I'm done with the part is if I don't look at it and think that I don't like it, so I think I'm going to leave that the way it is. Unless you mean the reflection over here. That could be awesome. So, just make this shape over here a little bit more irregular, leading up to the edge of the bush in the front. Hey, Ceza? Not sure if that's how you say it. Thanks for joining. I think after this tree here, I'm going to move on to the one on the left there. And I'm going to mute it a little bit so that the darks are not quite as dark. Give it a little bit of white. So I'm looking at this little area down on the bottom here too. I guess, I'm not even sure what that is really. I guess it's part of this tree here. At least that's how it is in the reference, so looking at my original version painting sometimes also. Yeah, I think I'm gonna actually just adjust this a little bit right here. Not too much. But I just feel like it needs a little bit of something. It's just kind of like a shape right now. And then just do a little more dark on the right. Something I started noticing when I began teaching after a while is I say a lot when I'm talking about changing things. Sometimes things need to be changed a lot, but a lot of the time it's a little. Okay. I'm just looking at the edge here on the silhouette, thinking I'm okay with the top part. Before I kind of move on from this tree, I'm going to look at just this part over here and maybe go in there. And I don't know what's going on with my camera. I just noticed from my palette. What is? It's like magnification got changed on it somehow or something. Okay, well, that's very inconvenient. I don't know what happened there. Let me just take a look at this for a second. You can actually see what I'm doing when I'm mixing the color. Okay, yeah, that, I don't even know what was going on with this. It was actually kind of messed up when I started up my program today. So there's kind of some weird glitch going on with this. Okay. So I'm gonna just fix this now in the other view I have. I got a vertical and a horizontal stream for this. So that's the wrong one. Swear every time I've gone streaming so far, there's been some weird thing that happened. At least this one wasn't my fault. I don't know what happened here, but it wasn't me. Okay. That seems okay now. All right, and let me just go back to this edge over here and get a little bit of the darker green. I don't want it too dark on the edge. I'm just sort of like hinting at the leaves now, just by putting some brush marks on the edge that are not totally solid. Letting the sky sort of show through, but I don't want to get too involved with all this. All right, and I think that is working pretty good. A little bit up here. All right. I think that's it for that tree. That's probably a really big gulp on the mic. All right, so now this one over here, I'm gonna get a little bit of white and put that out. Let's see here. I don't really think I'm going to need too much white today, but just get a little bit here. A sneak peek. You're talking about the palette, the weird dark area? Because I just fixed the palette because the camera crop was doing something very strange. It was magnified. Gotta check if I had a little bit of paint that just fell on the floor here. All right. Whenever there's any paint bits, I always have to be really careful of it. I want to make sure the cats don't eat it. If there's anything that falls on the floor. All right, so I'm going to make an alternate green here that has some white going into it. And I'm not going to really need very much of this. It's just going to be on the back in that middle part right there, maybe. So I'm going to put some of this green right over here, I think. I put the white over there, probably be better to put it over this way. So I'll just move it in a minute. Of course, really the best way to do this is actually to mix up the color, the main color I need, and then put it into the dark so that it has the same amount of white instead of mixing it into the light and into the dark separately. So I'm going to just bring this over this way here. So I'm kind of making an alternate version of the green here where there's a little haze. It's going to be less saturated and be pretty subtle. Don't really need it to just scream that there's something different happening there. You tend to see this a lot of the time with landscapes if there's a lot of distance with some mountains and things where there's a little haze that'll show up. I'm just going to put this on here with the palette knife. All right, so it's definitely looking desaturated and a little more gray. I don't know if that's too much. I'm going to get some more of this green over here and maybe go a little bit darker with it. Don't really have very much paint here because I'm not quite sure of the color yet. Oh, there was a line across the canvas? No. It's weird. Well, I didn't see that on my end, so I don't know. Not sure what's going on there. Oh, hey, Vainscod? Thanks for stopping by. So I'm gonna just put in a little bit more up here. Just gonna wipe off what's on the brush already and this is a little bit kind of cooler looking also, which kind of tends to help with the whole haze kind of a look. I've got this weird brown line down here. I don't really need that either. I don't even know what that was. Again, I'm going to just try to keep this pretty basic looking. And try to avoid going too detailed with it. Not sure if this is a little light for what I need over here, just as like a lighter kind of like area that's in the sun. No, I'm going to just put it over in the middle also. I think this is probably pretty much what I want, but I'll just put it over this way and see what happens. I'm not sure if I really like that. Might want to get rid of that. I don't know. I'm gonna really just take a look at what's actually happening there before I decide on it. No, I don't know. Maybe it's okay. I'll just give this a couple little areas where there's some light coming through from behind on the other tree that I did before. Yeah, maybe it's alright. I want to go back in with the dark also. So, yeah, I'm going to keep this. First it looked a little odd, but it's alright. And you know, I'm getting actually a shadow right here. It's just the paint, not really actually darker in that spot. Kind of like an edge on the paint right there. Okay, so I'll come back to that. And go back to our little friend on the left there. I want to make sure that this is still dark enough that it's separated from this tree next to it, kind of in the front. I'm just toning it down. It's not as dark as it was before in the shadow here. Well, how many brushes do I use for one painting? Well, depends on the painting. This one I've only, well, recently anyway, I've only used like one or two, I guess two last time. But sometimes I'll have as many as 7 at a time. But when I'm painting a little faster style like this, I tend to just use less brushes. It was interesting to me how I think certain colors just look really bad in some places, but the same color looks really nice in other places. So I think this color over here on the left is one of those kind of greens that can look kind of sickly in the wrong spot, but over here I think it's working. Like if it was a cartoon and somebody's like going to throw up or something, then they might be this color, but it can also be a tree over here. So not sure how much more I want to do on this one. I think probably needs a little something, but you know, it kind of looks like a tree out of Super Mario Brothers. It had a kind of very simple look about him. This right over here is blending together way too much. I gotta do something about that. I'm gonna bring this part down. Make a little break right here. Even though this green I'm using has a little bit of white in there, it's just a small enough amount right here. I'm adjusting on this bush that it's not really going to stand out very much. Okay. Just going to look at this from far away. Definitely looking too solid on the edge of that new tree, but yeah, this dark shadow on the right there seems like it needs to get dispersed out to the rest of the tree a little bit more. So I'm going to just go in here like this kind of just making this up now. It's not really like this on the reference. The green I'm getting is much darker, but it's mixing with what's on there already, so you can see it sort of is darker, and then I just kind of tap over it a few times, and then it starts getting lighter. Maybe this over here, I'm going to just separate a little bit more. Oh, thanks, Summer. And, oh, hi, Maite. I'm glad you like it. I'm kind of winging it with this tree here, because, you know what? Just check my reference here. The reference you see on the screen is a little bit cropped, but there's not really very much more than that. So actually, this tree right here, that you're seeing more in the painting right now than there is actually in the reference. Which, now that I'm really looking at it, I didn't realize it was this big of a difference, but whatever. One of the nice things about landscapes, no one knows really if you just paint a branch going in a different direction, or tree is bigger or smaller. Natural things do all kinds of weird stuff. A lot of the time you can't tell if you don't see the reference. And even if you went to this place, if you're just looking at it, you moved a little bit to one side or the other, you know, the tree might kind of look like it's in a different spot. Yeah, Sneepy. Yeah, your little emoticon, or little emote guy. About the same color as this tree here. Pretty good. Okay. Not sure how dark I want to go with the shadows over here, because it's supposed to have more haze. You know, it shouldn't have as much shadow as this other one. Yes, I'm going to go just a little bit more right here. I'm saying a little again, but I'm pretty much there. It's just minor adjustment. Be careful not to overdo it. Okay. Okay, so Maite's asking my process for starting a painting like this. So it really depends on the painting, but like for this one, so I originally did the first version of this painting while I was actually there in front of the actual scene. The new one I did, basically originally I was looking at a photo of my painting I did before and using that as the reference, but I actually found, you know, I had this like still that you see on the screen now from a video when I was painting. So I'm kind of looking at that more at this point. But there's some cases where, you know, in the past I'll do like a black and white monochrome layer first if I'm going to be like letting that dry and then go over it later. Probably wouldn't want to do that wet into wet. So if you're painting faster like this, then kind of just like block things in. Like what you see over here, this is the first layer. So I already went over the water and this part over here, and I'm doing this part right here now. So I did that all kind of as the second layer, the reflection. So this is how the first layer looked originally. It's a little bit more basic, and I'm still keeping it loose. So it's not going to be like a huge difference, but just kind of like tighten it up a little bit. Just make it look nicer. So for the case like this, I just kind of throw the colors on there kind of quickly and just kind of cover the white space as fast as I can. I'm not sure if I want to do anything more to this tree here. Let's see. I think, I don't know. Maybe it's okay the way it is. I'm not sure. I'll just soften this a little bit in a couple places here. Just got a little more paint on it than I need. Okay, so Maite, there's other cases where, like years ago, I used to paint in a way where, like for this one, I did have some white space when I started working on it again, because I originally had worked on this a long time ago, and then had it just sitting there for a while and didn't do anything with it. So I did have some white space on it because I just was kind of going quick originally. But at this point, I generally would try to cover up the white space as fast as I can for most things, because it just looks really like it interferes with whatever you're trying to do, as far as like making it look like there is that appearance of depth and all that kind of thing. So I mean, for me at this point, that would be one of the biggest things I would pretty much try to do, no matter what the original kind of layer is going to be. But you can do a background layer in, I'm going to just go in here and mess with this a little bit. Do a background layer with burnt sienna, a very popular color to do a first layer if you want to like do that and let it dry. Or you can do also burnt umber. You can just coat the entire painting in one color if you want, if it's going to be predominantly one color. Or you can use a completely different color. Like some people I've seen recently will use this particular very intense pink color and put that down as a base coat and then paint over it with other colors that are not like the pink at all. I think there's a guy named Jess that, I forget his last name, but he's gotten pretty big on Instagram. I've been friends with him online for a few years now, and he does really intense colors. He'll do like birds and roosters and different things, and sometimes he'll put this really bright pink in there. But Jess Wathen, he's really cool. He's got a lot of cool animal paintings. So he's one of these guys. I don't know, people might be seeing what he's doing and using that pink because they like what he's doing. So really, you can do whatever you want. That's kind of like the answer for that. Okay. Well, I mean, it's good to start with a white canvas because the paint is going to be transparent. Even if it's opaque paint, it still is a little transparent. And eventually over time, the oil paint, using oils, they become more and more transparent. And if you paint on a black surface, then it's really going to, like the color is not going to show through as well. So for that reason alone, it's good to paint on a white canvas, but you just want to like, maybe it doesn't bother you, if you're leaving the white and, it doesn't get covered up for a while, but for me, it bothers me. So, I mean, there's a guy I've seen online, I've never met in person, but I think his name is Caesar. I can't remember the last name, but I was watching one of his videos one time, and he was like, "First thing I want to do is cover up this ugly white." It's like, kind of. I never really thought about white as being ugly that way before. I was like, yeah, it does look kind of bad in the beginning. It's just, it doesn't look good. It just is like this overly bright thing that's kind of, interfering with everything else you're trying to do. Maybe Cesar Santos. I think that might be him. He's another good artist. Okay, I think this is looking all right the way it is. I'm gonna just do a little shadow on this little guy in the background here. Kind of very subtle. Don't need it to jump out. Just it needs to look like a tree. Doesn't look like a tree. Then what is it? This is a real existential Arbor moment. I mean, it could be a green circus tent. What else is going to be that high? Castle? I don't know. Yeah, so Maite, like the thing is, see with the white, it's really weird how this happens because it doesn't really seem to happen with other colors as much. Next time you're painting, maybe you can just kind of pay attention to this and see if it happens for you, but even if there's like one little white spot somewhere, even if your painting doesn't look remotely finished, it doesn't look realistic at all, and you're just kind of blocking things in, it's like this little hole in the whole image. It's like you just cut out a hole and it just makes it look like it's a bunch of colors on a surface. And as soon as you cover it up, it's like all of a sudden it looks like it's like a little scene someplace that you're looking at. Or if it's a person or whatever it is, it just all of a sudden magically just looks delicious. I mean, just all of a sudden it just looks more like, you know, kind of what you're working on, what you're trying to get it to be in the end, even if you still have a lot more to do on it. So, you know, there's plenty of people I've seen online, which it still is just crazy to me when I see this, but there's some people that they'll just start with a white surface, and they'll use these tiny little brushes, like a little round, and they'll just start on the eye for a face. It's just totally white, and they just start on the eye, and they'll go around and they'll just do the entire face just from the middle out, which I would never do that, but I've seen plenty of people do it in a way that it comes out looking really nice. I mean, I guess there's a school that's teaching that method or something, and, you know, that's fine too if it works for you. So, looking at what to do next here, I think these trees, I'm going to just say they're fine as they are. And, you know, maybe I'll do this one right here. Just kind of standing up in the air in that spot. To reference a little bit more, but looking about as dark as this one over here, but it's in the light, so maybe I'm gonna go make it just a little bit lighter on the left side than what I have right now. I don't want that hazy color. Well, this one looks like it's not quite as far away, so I'll go a little bit lighter, and I think I'll just stay away from the haze. It might be kind of in between the haze and the non-haze colors. I mean, the whole sky is just so white on the reference that it might be kind of like influencing the colors of everything right around the edge there and making them all look different than they should be anyway. Now I want to make sure I don't get these two looking too similar, because they're not supposed to be the same tree here. You know, I might tell you another thing you can do is there's a way of doing the base layer called a rub out, which you just put on a bunch of color and then you wipe it off, and the white of the canvas showing through, or this whatever the surface you're working on, will just come through when you wipe off the paint. So you start with like a black or burnt umber or something, a dark brown like that. And so not a lot of people do that. There's a guy named Martin Whitfoot that does it. That's great. You know, seen him at openings in New York plenty of times. He's a nice guy. And he does these kind of apocalyptic animal scenes where there's, you know, lions just wandering around after the world has kind of fallen apart. But he had a few videos recently I saw where he was just showing how he does the wipeout, and, you know, they work really well for him, definitely. That's another kind of a cool way to do it. Oh wow. Schmuckleberry. I like your name. Well, I think it's very fitting that you think the greens are delicious. Thanks. Yeah, there's a bunch of different greens in here. At first, sometimes plants may seem like they're all the same, but if you really look, you know, there's a variation for lots of different ones. This one right here is looking maybe a little bit kind of dull right now compared to the others. I might do a little bit more saturation, but oh yeah, you know, I've heard people say that green is the hardest color to paint with, just in general. I would say definitely when it comes to painting plants, it's probably true. I was saying a little while ago, not too long ago, first time I painted with green, you know, I painted some plants and things, I just used the completely wrong colors for it. It didn't look good. Like, I thought it was, I liked it at the time, but then later on I was like, yeah, it looks really bad. It's odd sometimes if you make something and you can't really tell how it looks. That's true for thinking things look better than they look, or worse. But, like Richard Jenny had a great, joke he used to do many years ago about how, women often think they look worse than they actually look in reality, whereas men usually think they look significantly better than they actually look. But anyway, I think the trick with greens is getting it just saturated enough, but not too saturated, because if you go overboard, it just doesn't look real. It doesn't look natural. Kind of liking how this is going right here. I don't think I want to change that too much more. Oh, yeah, Summer, that was, well, I forget if it was Scott's painting or the other one I did with, that I used the Puerto Rico photos, but they were both done around the same time, but both of them, the green was just too much. I think Scott's might have been first, but yeah. Part of the problem with that was that the green looked too bright in the reference I had. I had a photo, and that's just kind of how it looked. I'm going to leave that tree. That's just how it looked in the photo, but on top of that, I was also kind of painting it in a way that I wanted the colors to be really bright. Because there's like that nice glowing green you see when you look at plants. Like if there's like a leaf and the sun is kind of shining through, and you see underneath it's got that really nice glowing sort of neon look. So kind of tried to paint the whole thing that way, and it just didn't work. It ended up looking like it was just like, I don't know, like a bad acid trip or something right there. But part of the problem was just, the colors I was using for it. So I started out using like phthalo green together with cadmium yellow lemon, which are like the brightest yellow and the brightest green you could use for saturation. So now I'm using cadmium yellow light, which is similar to cadmium lemon, but it's not quite as extreme. Yeah, well, I like painting people. It's my favorite thing. So I think I need to do a little bit more of this slightly more saturated yellowish green here. So the light's over this way. Yeah, I was happy with how Scott and Lori came out in the painting. That part was good. Having a little bit of an issue here where these, even with the more saturated green, this one tree is a little bit too similar to the other one back there, but I guess it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to just add in a little more shadow here just to kind of separate them some more, make it a little bit more abrupt, because the shadow's not really that dark and the one that's further away. Okay, so definitely getting a little more detailed here than I want. So I'm going to try to just finish this part and then move on. This is the case of really just making it clear what's going on, so I have to find some way to do that where you can tell. I mean, I guess it's not really that big of a deal if you thought this was the same tree here, but it's not supposed to be. I'm going to make the shadow over here a little darker. I don't want to mess with it because I like how it looks, but it seems like that's just what it needs to separate that part. Okay, that's a little darker. Just going to go a little bit more, and then that'll be it for this tree here. and kind of detailed with this little spot. Well, not detailed, just kind of minute as far as the place I need to adjust on it. Oh, how long have I been painting? Well, been painting with oils for about 33 years or something. So I was using other things in school before that, like tempera and the crappy tempera stuff like the kids use. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess some people like tempera, but I was using the crafty kind. I guess there's like good tempera and bad, I don't know. But definitely I prefer oils more than any other kind of medium. All right, I think I'm done with this. You know what? No, I'm not. I'm just gonna do this little spot down here, and that's it. I'm looking at how similar that is still, so it's gonna have to stand out against this other branch here. So, it's getting there. The Schmuckleberry, you paint? You said you have a hard time with greens. Are you working with oils or something else? Okay, so, okay, yeah, it's tough at first. I've heard from so many people that paint with acrylics, but they want to do oils, or they're like asking if you should start with acrylics, work your way up to oils, but you know, they're definitely different. And with the drying time, that's the biggest thing. I think I might have went over that a little too much right there. Need a little bit more shadow, just a little bit. But yeah, it's just, you know, from doing it over and over again, you get the hang of it after a while. And I think that actually acrylics are harder to paint with than oils because they dry so fast unless you're using retarder, but kind of a pain in the butt to add retarder to every single color you're using. Like I used to use Liquin many years ago with oils to make them dry faster, kind of like, not exactly like acrylics, but you know, basically so they would dry overnight. But then, you know, you have to add the Liquin into all the colors, which I definitely don't miss that. That was a real pain in the butt. Oh, it's been an hour already. Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm moving on now to this tree over here. So pretty big part of the whole image. And this little place over here where I painted the sky in last time, it doesn't really go with anything. I think I'm gonna have to probably just paint over almost all of that. And there's a branch or like a part of the tree that should be going up through there, which I could paint that in. I don't know. Based on how the tree is in the photo. Well, I'm gonna look at my original painting here. And I did kind of have some sky over there originally. Well, anyway, you know, a lot of the stuff I'm doing here is not exactly like what it looked like in person or in any version, so it's fine. And also looking at this other part here where there's a space where I painted the sky in. So, okay. Yeah, I think I'll make a little adjustment. I don't know. I'm gonna do something that will kind of combine the two things I'm looking at here with that. Because really, like in the photo and on the screen now, there's no sky there at all. It's just all from that tree. I guess I'll just start out with the tree and figure out the sky as I go along, as far as like how much I want in there. Kind of just put this paint together a little bit. It's kind of went all over the place. I don't think I'm going to need the hazy kind of lighter green over here anymore. I'll just kind of leave it to the side. And I think this goes with that. So put this over here. Just kind of get the paint together a little bit more so it's easier to get more on the brush, but I'm going to need to mix up some more. Now this, I don't even know, I think this was kind of like the hazy green. I don't remember at this point, but I'm just going to put it over there. Yeah, I think that's probably what it was. The colors are pretty similar at this point, so it's not really obvious if there's white in there. Probably wouldn't matter that much anyway. So, color of this green here is more brownish than the rest of the image. So I'm going to actually want to maybe take some of my transparent yellow oxide, add that to the green to do this part. But it has a nice, in a way that there's like a big main part of the tree, and then there's this branch over here where the light's just hitting it. Kind of like what's going on over this tree, where it's just, you know, that one kind of branch is sticking out, and then there's just the rest of the tree. It's got a similar shape happening on the right. So I think I'm also going to want to use some black in here for the shadow for this one. I'm going to get the color off of my brush here. Instead of wiping it under a paper towel, I'm just going to put it on the palette and then put it back together. Actually, you know, I think I'm going to just maybe use this together with the other stuff I'm doing because it needs to be duller anyway, so why not? Alright, so I'm going to just get a bunch of green here for the lighter color. And take some of the brown. Wow. Looks brown. Transparent yellow oxide. Put that in there. I don't really want to go overboard with this, just enough to get it a little bit closer to what I need there. And I can make the color that I need with the lighter version and then go darker with it, or I could just start darker and add, you know, yellow or whatever I'm going to need to make it lighter. Just see what happens here with this. Put a little bit on there. That's pretty dark, but not too far off from what I need. And that actually looks like a pretty good sort of mid-tone. Maybe I'll do it that way. You can also just start out with the mid-tone if you want and kind of separate it and have it go off lighter in one side and, you know, darker on the other side. So I'll just mix a bunch more of this color first. And it uses the basis. Get more of the brown, well, transparent yellow oxide. That looks like brown. And bring it up a little bit more, a little lighter. So definitely be needing a bunch more of this paint. So, you know, I'm gonna just, well, why not just take all of it? I feel like it's a poker game all of a sudden. Just put all my chips into the blob of green paint. I'm very bad at cards, though. Never been good at cards, except for Uno. A little more yellow. All right, so I think this is pretty close to what I want here for the tree on the right. Actually, no, it's a little too green still. I'm gonna get more this over here to dull it down. Did have a little white in there to begin with also, but it's hardly anything, so I'm not gonna bother with it. Okay, get a little bit more yellow, and I think that'll be all right. So Schmuckleberry, if you want to, I don't know if you have any oil paints yet, but if you want to get like a pretty good student grade, Gamblin has a 1980 line, which is a little cheaper than the regular line, and it's a good company to use to start out. What kind of things do you like to paint? Aside from green things that are difficult. Okay, I'm gonna get some more Viridian out. Okay. Mix up some of the main dark here. Kind of the main green, and then add some more of the yellow and get it where I need it. Of course, I need this to be a little bit more brown than I normally use because I need this duller, but still looks pretty similar when it's still so dark like this. Okay, and I'm gonna get more yellow here. Right. Okay, a lot of mixing here. This is like a workout. All right, so I'm gonna get, well, you know what? I'm gonna just leave that actually as my dark. I think I can probably use that as it is. I'll just take a little here, separate it out, and add some yellow in there. Let's see how that goes. Okay, and so let's try this lighter color here first. So it's not as dull as what's on there as the base color. I don't know if it's a little too saturated though. Yeah, maybe a little bit. Well, I don't know, maybe I want some white in there. I don't really know what I need here yet. See, it's like a catch-22. You can't really tell if the color is right sometimes until you do more of it, and then there's just more to fix, but it's fine if you have to do that. Yeah, that's definitely too saturated. So I'm gonna add a little bit more of that brown in there. Like I was saying before, this tree on the right especially, you gotta be careful not to go too dull with it so it looks like it's gotten fried and it's gonna just, you know, die soon. But the color that I have now is just a little bit too saturated still. I'm gonna do up here just to kind of compare. All right, so that's much closer to what's on there from the base color. I think I'm going to just actually take some of this transparent yellow oxide and just pour it into this other stuff I just did over here. Mix it on here. A little bit too brown so far, but yeah, it's fine. Just go back over it with more paint. Oh, hey there, Michelle. Thanks for stopping by. We were just having a little conversation about the dangers of fluoride earlier. I haven't been using fluoride for many years because it's poisonous. Okay, so gotta kind of make a decision right over here as far as what to do about this branch. I guess maybe, I don't know. Okay, well, if I'm keeping this little window here, there is kind of a tree or something back this way, off in the distance. Kind of going like this, and then there's the bigger tree that's covering up a bunch of places there. Okay, bye Sneepy. Go feed hubby. So I'm gonna close this at least somewhat here. Not, I don't know, I feel like it looks weird right now, but maybe I want to bring this up here a little bit more also. Okay, I feel like that looks better. And so here's this shadow happening right over here. Looking at this color here for the tree, it's like I might want to go back over it. I did have a little extra brown, transparent yellow oxide. It looks like brown just on there. But I'll go back over that and adjust the color a little bit because I don't want the tree to be too different than everything else going on. So it doesn't look like it really fits with them. Kind of get a nice little variety of colors though when you're changing, you know, certain plants to be a little bit different like this. Gives it kind of a nice, just sort of color palette. Like, you ever see those little succulent plants? They're really tiny. There's like all different kinds of greens for them. They look so cute when you see like a little tray and they're all different. In the garden center or someplace. Okay, now this area on the right. Okay, so this is as it is now, closer to the original way I did this for the first version. I think I'm gonna go in and just put this, well, yeah, I'm gonna put the lighter kind of branch over there on the right. right over here. And I think I'm going to need to get some more yellow, because that's pretty much out now. One of the things you have to be careful of when it's warm weather like this is the paint tends to separate a little bit more in the tube, unless you're really using your air conditioner enough that it doesn't get hot wherever you are in your house. So, get a little more yellow here to lighten this part. And I'm gonna just, instead of adding the brown, I'm gonna just take this right here actually and go over some of that part on the left, which is a little bit excessively brown right now. So I'll mix it just together right there. Okay, and it'll just be a pretty subtle difference, but just enough that the tree doesn't look fried. So I'm going to go along the edge here now, and not sure exactly what I want to do here with this. I guess I'll bring it out a little bit more right here. This one little branch is coming down kind of far, covering up part of the bridge right over here, just a little bit. It goes back up. Edge of the tree here right now is looking a little bit too just kind of like a blob. I don't know, need something in there just to make it look more defined or something. Okay, and this area up here, and there's a little bit more in there also. Need to paint the tree trunk a little bit more in some places. Okay, I'm going to bring this branch here up some more. Getting the paint on there a little bit thicker now. Definitely looks different when you paint thicker versus, you know, really thin. Which I still have to remind myself all the time to paint thicker. I think by now I just do it. But sometimes easy to just take the paint you have and just kind of stretch it out, and comes a point where that's not really helping you so much. Blending the shadow into the lighter area a little bit more. I'm gonna just bring this area on the top over. Yeah, the plan was to bring it over. Didn't really work just now. Okay. You gotta overshoot when you're going wet into wet. Or whatever the original color is gonna mix into the new one you're putting down. So maybe I want to darken here. And really this whole area on the right, this can just get darker also. Ooh, oh no. Ugh. I just hit my easel. For a minute I wasn't sure if it was the camera. Yeah. Wipe that off. All right, so thinking I need a darker color for the shadows over here now, so maybe I'll just go into the black. Got a little bit of black out before. All right, so I'm gonna just take some of this black, bring it over, and a little bit goes a long way, so that's actually pretty close to what's on there now. A little bit more of that. I'm gonna see if that's what I want to use here. I'm really jumping around on this. Well, you might disagree with that, but I guess I'm starting to jump around. I think the house paint's on. So I'm gonna just start adding almost the black on its own right over here. And this whole area is just pretty dark, except for a few little places. I'm going to start closing up this space right here. It doesn't need to be that much sky showing through. Okay, so I just did a little thing here. I think it's not really a big deal, but it's kind of helping to make this look sort of more like a tree type of a shape instead of just being this big solid area. I want to do that a little bit more here with this really dark, mostly black color. Okay, there's the cat hair on the brush for the day. Hopefully there's only one. Alright, just vacuum the apartment. Cat hair is still just making its way onto the brush. Okay, I'm going to push this part right here back a little further, just by making it darker. Definitely a real nice amount of contrast on this tree. I'm gonna go over that part and that kind of group of leaves over here on the branch. While I'm working, I'm just constantly looking for things that sort of jump out, be changed, so as I go along, it's just always evolving and just kind of reacting to whatever is happening, and usually I go in there and just fix it when something kind of shows up that I really want to get rid of, or it just kind of becomes more, seems like it's like a bigger deal to fix it at that point. Definitely different working wet into wet when you're blending the colors compared to a dry layer. Yeah. I like that little thing that just happened down there. Wasn't even really planning that out very much, but I think I'm gonna leave that one. Nice when things just kind of like, you just put something on there, sometimes it just shows up really nice from the beginning. You don't have to go in there and just work on it and try to fix it over and over again. Like sometimes if you write music, you just kind of get it in the very beginning and all working the way you want, versus if something is not right, you just keep on trying to figure out what it is and go in there and change it over and over again. There was an interview with Tom Petty a few years ago before he died. He was talking about when he writes a really good song, and he was saying, you know when you write a good one. which I haven't had any hits myself, but I know what he meant. And you can usually tell when something is really kind of stands out compared to the other things you've done. Right, so right now, I feel like, I don't know, the tree is looking a little bit... Oh yes, I make music as well. Actually, I play keyboard, which, it's over that way, but it's covered up. I haven't really had time to play, at all for a while now, but it's part of my whole kind of getting back to things that I actually enjoy doing. You know, that's one of the things I'm going to start making time for. But I have a Yamaha Motif, which I got in 2002 or something, which is a pretty old keyboard at this point, but I made a bunch of my own electronic music. And after art school, I was just really not sure what to do with myself, and so I was planning to basically go into music, and I was, you know, learning all that kind of stuff, and you know, there was really no realism scene that I was aware of at that point. I think there was a little bit, maybe more than I knew of, but not much. I mean, things are, I think, coming back much more now than they were then. So it was a pretty crappy time to be a realist painter. I mean, even 10 years before that, it was probably even worse. But it's really nice to see people online doing things that are more of a traditional style, but, you know, sometimes a more maybe modern subject or whatever. Do you play music, Maite? I find a lot of the time people that are like really creative, they'll not just be painters, but they'll also be in a band or just, you know, play on their own. Leonardo, I think, was like that. He played music too. You know, several people that are painters, but they also play guitar or different things. Anyway, like, this looks a little bit too kind of, I don't know, basic right now. Like, it needs some more unique stuff going on. Maybe a little bit more irregular shape somewhere. I don't know. It's not exactly in the ugly cry phase now, because I think this doesn't look bad. It's just not where I want it to be in the end, so I'm still looking around at what to adjust. But that's, a lot of my paintings go through that stage where it just looks really bad. You have to just keep going. All right, so I think, well, here's one thing I want to change. This little lighter area down here, that's definitely too similar to the light that's hitting the tree. Actually, it's maybe even brighter over there in that spot. So I'm going to change that right now. And maybe that'll help with what's going on the other side. Actually, when I was painting this originally, I remember I lightened, you know, in the original version, I lightened this part here a little bit more just to get that nice contrast of the tree. And it didn't actually have something exactly like that behind that part, but I really liked how it looked, so I was like, I'm gonna do it this way, just because. So it's going a little too extreme right now with that. And that could be another tree behind it, or it could be maybe a limb on the tree that's just in the sun over that way. Who knows? Oh, this is Gapstow Bridge. And in Central Park. For those of you that haven't been to Central Park, Nice place. Kind of incredible that there's such a huge, I mean, it's gigantic. There's such a huge place in the middle of New York City. I mean, the amount of space that's used right now for Central Park, if it was just sold as lands, as a this area to be developed. I mean, I couldn't even imagine the amount of money that it would be sold for. It'd be like, I don't know, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars. I mean, it's like very large. But I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt that designated the area for it a long time ago. You probably know this. Live Like You Mean It. Was it her? I think that was one of her things. So it's a good thing that she did, because really, such a big city, you kind of need a little bit of something like that. Or a lot. Now there's a bush right over here. I don't want to like move on yet from the other tree, but let me just put this in here. Like that. I think I'll bring it out a little more actually. Some of these things that are next to the tree will kind of help to figure out what I need to do over here. So I feel like this looks better already, just since I darkened that part. It looks, it's not competing as much. I want to go back over it some more. But, I think that I'll just kind of have this come down here like that. All right. I'm gonna darken this top part here some more. I tell you, do you ever go into Central Park? Sometimes when there's like something close by, you know, it's always there, so you don't really feel like an urgency to go do it, but really a nice place to go have a stroll if you're in New York. You definitely get lost in there though. Some of the sort of like smaller paths, I mean, they're just, if you look at a map of them, it's like a bowl of spaghetti, looking at the shape of this, the paths. Oh, I did a painting of the Met. You should go in there. Definitely the Bethesda Terrace. I did a couple paintings of that. That's like, I would say, the biggest, most popular place in Central Park, but really a sight to behold if you haven't been there before. You've probably seen it in like 30 movies. And the first time I went there, literally, like, I hadn't seen it before in person, and not even kidding, after I went there for the first time because somebody wanted a commission painting of it, I saw it in like maybe 4 or 5 paintings within the 2 months after that. Or 4 or 5 movies, I mean. So I saw just like shots, just like one scene here or there that were in that place of the park in 4 or 5 different movies within the 2 months after I finished the painting. One of which was X-Men. One of them, I forget which one. So, you know, sometimes you see like the steps there and stuff. You don't even necessarily know that's what it is if you haven't been there, but they're very recognizable if you have been there. So if you're paying attention at all, you'll probably be able to tell that's what it is. Oh yeah, Olmsted. Yeah, he actually, I know an artist named Karen Frost Olmsted who's married to a descendant of him. I don't know if it's like that was his grandfather or what, or great-grandfather or something. But yeah. Yeah, he did a couple other things I saw here and there. Just like the designs he did for mansions or whatever it was, I forget, but really, it's like my favorite kind of, you know, design for architectural things. Apparently, they really fixed it up back in, I don't know, the 90s at some point. It was kind of run down. They went in there, and especially the terrace. There were places that there's big chunks missing out of some of the like sort of like ornamental concrete things that they had there, like little walls and stuff like that. So you can see where they fixed it up now because it's a different color, but it's all nice again. I haven't been to the Biltmore in North Carolina, but I know, I think, I don't know, I forget, I remember hearing a couple other things about Homestead. There came in one other guy, different projects they had worked on. Now these little tree areas here, I think I'm going to need to darken them right on the above the bridge because they're just kind of going into the bridge and kind of combining. I need a little space here to just separate them some more. Maite, do you know Jess? That nice lady over there? Just on her stream before, and she was talking about she's over in London, in the UK, and she was saying how the rent is just getting so crazy. And she's looking for a new place, and I was like, yeah, sounds like, you know, New York. I mean, maybe it's not as crazy there yet. I don't think anywhere in the world has rent as crazy as New York, but seems like a lot of people are leaving New York now because it's just gone from expensive to unlivable. So that's unfortunate. I probably had the same conversation with you already before at some point recently. Oh, Calvert Ball? You're not, oh, I don't know how you say that. You know a lot about this. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like all these, there's just development all over the place in New Jersey because people are leaving New York and we're already overcrowded here. So it's not exactly helping our situation. Noticing this is very smooth over here. And so I think it needs, I don't know, more texture or something. I think it needs maybe to be a little bit darker in some of the shadows here also. Still feel like the tree is looking, I don't know, a little bit too much like made of cotton balls or something. It needs, I think I'm gonna just bring this one corner up here out some more, make it a little bit sharper. I think the shapes are too similar, like they're just all round. I mean, I guess kind of they all look that way. But maybe this one, because it's closer, it should have a little bit more sort of spiky things going on, or some sort of more specific shapes that are standing out. Being a little bit more, I guess, less sort of basic looking. Oh, well, favorite type of architecture? Well, oh, you know what? In the luxury buildings, you know, I had noticed, I spent a very short amount of time out in Long Island in the Hamptons, and I noticed I mean, the Hamptons are insanely expensive, but like the place I stayed in was not made well, and I'd seen other places that you could tell was made very, very badly. Like things were not lining up that were supposed to, like banisters and stuff like that. So, you know, that was happening out there despite being expensive. But anyway, as far as architecture I like to paint, I mean, just in general, New York, like if you go to New York and look around at all these little details they have there, over doorways and things. You know, whether just looking at it or painting it or whatever, that's just my favorite kind of style, kind of like, you know, time period. I don't know, I guess maybe that was like around for a pretty long span in Europe, but over here, I definitely realized that New York is pretty unique. I think maybe Boston's got a little bit of this too, but like it's unique because it was made long enough ago that there's all these nice little kind of details in the architecture all over the place. You know, there's really a lot of them. Whereas you don't see that with anything made in, I don't know, the last 50 or 60 years. It was kind of like over at that point. So that's one of my favorite things about New York. So things I like looking at, probably things I want to paint. That answers your question. I haven't really painted any buildings in there though. Well, aside from the Met, and I did start one of Times Square, but I never finished it. So, oh yeah, Chrysler Building is nice too. But I mean, I guess that's like, it's a pretty specific style, you know, the Art Deco style, where I don't really think there's a ton of other places in New York I can think of like that. But, you know, that's a cool one too. I think Art Deco kind of was coming around maybe at the time that that old style was kind of going away, as far as doing the little, like, little goblin guys over the door and things like that. Or like faces just in the sides of department store buildings. I mean, could you imagine if they're making like department store buildings now that had just, like, they were hiring people to sculpt faces to put on the side? I mean, it's like kind of nuts to even imagine that today. But I think that was a really nice time period just in general for art. Like, I mean, all the time I find new artists that I didn't know about, you know, just here and there on Instagram posts or whatever, and all the time I'll just see they're from the late 1800s. I think that was definitely my favorite time period for art. I think I'm liking this shape here a little more. It's maybe outlined a little bit too much right now, but just the overall shape looking better. Times Square painting, I don't know. I don't know about that one. I'm bringing this out right over here. So I'm going to need a little bit more shadow. Well, you know what? Actually, maybe it's kind of good that this is cutting into the shadow, because it's not kind of showing it as sort of overly defined as kind of what I was saying before. I don't know. I'm going to do something with this tree here. It's not right. It's not quite there yet. I mean, I got to do a bunch of things in the dark areas still. But, what do they paint with in the 1800s? Well, I mean, there's a lot of oil paints being used. Well, I mean, it was, you know, oils, I guess. Oils and maybe acrylics. Not acrylics. Watercolor, I mean. Acrylics were first invented in like 1908 or whatever. Nobody was painting with them back then for paintings. So, yeah, I think it was oil paint. Definitely all this stuff I like is oil paint, but I guess people were using watercolors at that point too. I don't know when our watercolors first came about. Probably a long time ago, before oils. I don't remember specifically. I need to maybe make this a little lumpier. Okay, I'm gonna just go in here and just do some subtle lumpiness. maybe part of the thing I need to do here is just making this tree look less like the others because it's closer, so it shouldn't be quite as general looking. Okay, I like how this is going here, where it's sort of tucking that area back sort of behind this other part here. Yeah, oil paint hasn't really changed a whole lot since it was first invented. I think they used linseed oil from the very beginning, and mostly linseed oil still today. Some companies use safflower oil though, for certain colors, or in some cases for all their colors, but it's one of those ones, I don't know how they figured out the best one to use at the beginning, but it was linseed oil, I think, from the guys that first invented it. Kind of funny because you can also use linseed oil. Linseed oil comes from flax, and the plant itself you can also use to make linen. So maybe that had something to do with it, where it was just kind of random chance that they were making linen. Actually, linen wasn't really used, I guess, until later on in the Renaissance, when people started painting bigger and they're using cotton. I don't know which one came first, actually, cotton or linen. But people were working on harder surfaces to start out, and then eventually it became woven things. I think maybe I'm gonna just soften this up here a little bit. Of course, this will look a lot better once I actually put in those branches. I'm just kind of not there yet. Okay, you know what? I can have, there's no back of this branch over here. I can put something in there just to show it's outlined at least a little bit to the point where you can see it. Okay, I think I'm gonna just adjust the bottom of this so that you can see the edge a little bit more here. And maybe just lighten this a little bit too. I guess it's coming together. I don't know. Alright, so I'm going to give a little bit more texture on the right here, so it's not quite as smooth looking. And it's just kind of a little bit too different from the rest of the scene right now. I think it's not like a big issue, but it just looks, you know, needs something, needs more lumpiness. I just push this little clump of leaves out some more right over here by darkening that part. And we can actually have the shadows over this way. And I could definitely get a little bit darker like that in some other places just to match what's going on with the other trees. Go over this bottom edge here also just to outline that more. Okay, I think it's getting better, but there's not really a whole lot left to do aside from putting the trunk and the branches in there now. Alright, yeah, I don't know. I've been doing a lot of like staring at this one, just trying to figure out where to put things, so I guess it's coming out alright. Another thing I need to adjust here actually is this little brand, the kind of bush thing that's coming out over this way. I want to just darken the area behind there some more. You can actually see where it is. Like this is one of those things where you have to, basically, if you want to be an artist, you want to do realism, or at least representational paintings, you kind of have to have patience. If you don't, you're not going to last that long. Unless you just paint very fast, which is kind of unusual. There are times, though, you feel like you're bashing your head against the wall. Eventually it'll pass. Like, I heard somebody on a podcast when talking, like, he had a joke, like, somebody asked a man, hey, why are you walking down the street hitting a piece of wood against your head over and over again? The guy goes, because it feels so good when I stop. I guess, like, when you're painting, it's a little bit like that, maybe, when you finally get the thing to do what you want. Like, oh, I actually like this part. But there are cases where you just have to sort of suffer through it. And then on the other side, it's like, oh, okay, it all worked out. Where did that lighter color come from? All right, I think maybe it's time to move on to the branch or the trunks. I mean, I would kind of like to stop now, but I think I better keep going with the branch and the trunk stuff, or else it's not going to be as easy to integrate it next time. You know what? Let me just put a little area right over here. It's maybe too dark. Yeah, that's pretty dark right there. Maybe I just need more dark over here. Yeah, I think I like that better. Okay, so I think that's about it for that part right over there. And I'm gonna say that I'm gonna get some maybe burnt umber, the tree trunk stuff here. I think this is gonna go pretty quick. Unlike everything I just did just now, which did not. So, burnt umber, little white, and I think maybe some burnt sienna would be good for that. So I'm gonna just actually move all of this over. Probably, well, I might need it again actually. You never know, sometimes you think you're done with some green paint. The branch goes too far, you gotta fix it. You need the green paint again. Let me just move all this over here to the side, or just up higher here. Get that burnt umber. You know, I got the transparent yellow oxide here. Let me just see what happens if I add some white to this. Probably not going to be what I need, but since I've got it here, it's convenient. That's a nice color, but oh, actually, well, I don't know. It's not too far off from kind of the lighter area on that tree trunk. Yeah, actually, I think that's actually pretty good. All right, so I think I'll use that for the light. I better just scrape off this green. It's going to be mixing with whatever I put out if I don't. Okay, and the burnt umber. Get a little bit of oil to put in there. I think actually I'll just take some of the extra oil that's just come out with the black. Okay, so I'm just putting the oil in the black or the burnt umber here to cut down on sinking later, but I don't really plan on going back over this again after today, unless something goes disastrously wrong. So, do I want to use the same brush? Yeah, sure. Swipe it off real good. Okay, now I just take the burnt umber and just put it up there. Not even gonna mix it with anything. We got this, place here where it's going up. With trees, it always gets more narrow as it goes out away from the main part of the tree, you know, when you have different branches and things. So, you know, not like what I just did just now, but I want to make sure it's not bigger on the outside than it is kind of closer towards the trunk, because that would not be the way they tend to grow. And I want to actually, you know, I think I will go back in here and go back over a few of these places I'm going to paint now, just to make leaves and things covering up a few different places. This is a little bit thicker than I really wanted it in a couple of places here so far, but yeah, at least I can fix it. Definitely putting the branches in there does tend to help kind of bring things all together with trees like this, where it starts looking more like an actual tree. I'm just going to go over the whole thing that I had from before to keep it simple. Could have maybe a couple more little windows with the sky showing through also, but I don't know, maybe next time. Not sure if this actually might be a little bit too hard of a line on the edge that I just put in there, so I want to go back in there and just soften that some. Alright, so that's basically the actual main parts for the trunk of the tree. And there are places where there's light hitting it here and there, which I'm going to go in there. I think maybe I'll do that now. Like over here. Get a little bit more of the transparent yellow with the white here. Getting pretty thick, but it will show up against the brown that's on there already. Not so sure how I feel about these light patches yet. Keeping it pretty loose, but I don't know. Maybe I need to just blend the edge a little bit on the side. Seems like there's something a little bit off about them. So I think this one branch, or whatever trunk area here, has gotten a little bit too wide. It's from me adding to it, but I have to go in there and just cut off a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna go back and just add a little bit more of the burnt umber here in a couple places. Down here. I'm gonna just soften the edge a little bit in a few places here. I feel like it's just kind of strong, like right over here. Trying not to disturb it too much. Maybe get a little bit of green on the brush just while I'm doing this. Seems like the tree trunk or whatever the branch parts here are just a little bit too conspicuous. And the next thing will be just to go over a few places and add some more leaves in there, covering the bark. I don't really want to do too much of that. And that'll be it for today. I'm gonna put a tiny bit more of this lighter color right over here. I feel like it needs something there. A little too bright. Might want to touch up some of these little light patches next time. It's not really crazy about how it looks, and it's just okay. All right, I'm gonna add some more greenery around some places, and then I think that's it. I feel like that's helping already, just to kind of set these limbs in here instead of just looking like it was plastered over top of all the green parts. Not sure how kind of soft I want to go with the parts of the green that are covering up the limbs over here, but that seems to be working well with the softer look, so I'm going to just kind of go over this one again. Blur the edges here. Well, I guess I'm looking at more than I did before, so kind of not so sure about a couple things, but I guess it's all right. Some more shadow or something around these other branches right here. They're just kind of just covered up that one, but they look a little odd just as they are right now. Of course, I could possibly put some sky in there next time. I don't know. Maybe they need to be a little lighter if they're out there in the lighter area. And they need a little bit of sun hitting them. I don't know, I feel like that doesn't really work so well. It's like it's too close in value to the other part there. Need something a little bit darker on the edge to show up. This one right here is definitely too outlined, so just maybe darken it around the side there also. A little more shadow. Well, let's see if there's anything else to do here. Maybe soften this on the side over here. Have it fade out a little bit more. Okay, I like that a lot more, and noticing one little spot over here I gotta fix up. Actually, I'm gonna bring in some more of the dark brown right here. This could actually get a little thicker anyway. Yeah, that's better. It's less bad. And I'm actually just noticing all the way on the right, there's just a bunch of stuff that's kind of smudged over there. I can just real quick put in some yellow or light green. Not that the edge is all that important. Okay, and make this one limb here just a little bit thicker. Oh. And I added a little bit too much brown, but I guess I kind of like the way it looks actually. Yeah. The edge is really just soft over there. All right. I think that's it. Okay, so, wait a minute. Oh no. There's one more thing I just found. I think this is quick fix. It's too thick right over here, so I need to do something to make that more even. No, I think, all right. I don't really like how thick this is compared to that top part, and that seems a little too thick above there compared to the other part, so I'm actually going to just make that whole thing thicker. Maybe it'll work out better anyway. I think it does still actually need to get a little bit more narrow in the one spot. Okay, well, I think that's it. All right, so that's it. So, thanks for joining me today. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and follow, depending on which place you're watching me. And I'll see you next time.